Another broom has been mysteriously snapped in half in a Derbyshire village.
An escaped emu has been recaptured at an Irish pub in Florida.
Airport security police on the Greek island of Paphos have discovered a huge mushroom.
And headline of the week from the Daily Hive of Canada. Man breaks into Vancouver home, strips naked, makes eggs.
Which can only mean one thing: there's no such thing as the news.
Hello and welcome to another episode of No Such Thing as the News, coming to you from up the creek in Greenwich, London. My name is Dan Schreiber, and I am sitting here with Anna Chazinski, Andrew Hunter-Murray, and James Harkin. Each week we'll be presenting to you the most interesting stories we found in the news of the last 7 days. And in no particular order, here we go. Starting with you, Anna Chazinski.
My fact this week is that the Belgian Foreign Minister's Twitter account this week tweeted, "Keep calm and love Canada." It only did this because earlier it had tweeted, "Hey Canada, fuck you."
Wow. This is what they call a U-turn in diplomacy.
This was the Belgian foreign minister, who's called Didier Reynders. And this is the story that Belgium has stepped all over a trade deal that Canada was trying to draw up with the EU. And someone hacked into the Belgian foreign minister's Twitter account, tweeted this. Oddly, tweeted it with the picture of Stephen Harper, who's the former Prime Minister of Canada. Not very well informed politically. And the Twitter account was down for 3 hours, I think.
Did it have any consequences?
They're at war.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing if we were all watching, like, Russia and America, and while we were watching them, Belgium and Canada started World War?
It's not even Belgium, is it, that's torpedoed the trade deal?
No.
It's Wallonia.
Wallonia.
Yeah.
The Great Walloons.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say, and I know this is highly ignorant, and I apologise to the Wallonians, but I had not heard of Wallonia.
Hey, fuck you, Dan. Sorry, I was hacked there for a second. So there's 3.5 million people, and they scuppered a deal which affects 500 million EU citizens and 35 million Canadians. And so what that is the equivalent of is, say, in this room there's like about 250 people. If we all decided we want to go out for waffles or something, but 1.5 people said, no, we're not going to go for waffles, and then none of us got any waffles. It's pretty much that.
While we're on Wallonia, so I've been looking into it a bit, like Dan, and Wallonia, it turns out it has 1 cow for every 3 people. But I found out the average weight of a cow and the average weight of a Belgian. And it turns out that for every 3 Belgians, 218.5 kilos, there are 725 kilos of cow. So that means that by biomass, Wallonia is 75% cow.
The biggest town in Wallonia, or the biggest city, is Charleroi. And Charleroi was recently voted the ugliest city in the world.
In the world?
In the world, yeah. And locals have taken advantage of this by offering an urban safari, which takes in Belgium's most depressing street, the home of serial killer Marc Dutroux, a trip to an abandoned metal factory, and the chance to climb a waste coal pile.
OK, so this whole Belgian-Canada spat thing is in gaff's territory. And there was another thing this week which happened in French politics. So, you know, there's a common question, how much is a pint of milk, which gets asked to politicians to see how in touch they are with people. In French, the equivalent is, how much is a pain au chocolat? That's true. They ask politicians. So, there was a French politician who got asked this question this week. His name is Jean-François Cope, and he said 10 cents. Which is the equivalent of saying that a pint of milk costs 4p.
I don't know if this counts as a gaffe, but in UKIP this week, John Rhys-Evans...
It always counts as a gaffe in UKIP.
One of their press officers at UKIP used to answer the phone just saying, "What have we done now?" Sorry.
He was on a program, and in it, he said this sentence, and I've noticed that so many politicians are saying this now. He says, "The fact is, I'm not a politician." So he's running for the leadership. Over the last week as well, numerous times, Donald Trump keeps saying, "I'm not a politician." So we just keep hearing the same sentence. This month as well, Andrew Cuomo, who is the governor of New York, also said, "My father was not a politician. I am not a politician." He's the governor of New York, a position his dad held back in the 80s. No one seems to be admitting to being a politician these days.
It's weird, as if that would be comforting. Like, if an electrician turned up, started fixing something else. Fact is, I'm not an electrician. That would be 200 quid.
I'm not a doctor.
Other gaffes, actually, that have happened recently, I really like this one from a few weeks ago. So it was when the iPhone 7 came out, and it was released in China and in Hong Kong, and the iPhone 7's slogan is, "This is 7." Inspirational slogan, I think we can agree. And 7 is pronounced sat, I think, in Cantonese. Probably butchered that.
Yeah.
And-
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, yeah, well done, you. Grew up in Hong Kong, don't applaud that. So 7 is also slang for penis in Hong Kong, in Cantonese. And so the iPhone 7 slogan, translated in Cantonese, says, "This is a penis." That's what... And actually, earlier on this year, they should have learned, because Samsung, when it released its Galaxy Note 7, which has had enough problems, obviously, of its own, when that released it earlier this year, its slogan translated as "a stick of penis." So over in Hong Kong, they just think our penises are really
People
weird.
are just going, "Fucking hell, my penis is on fire."
We're going to have to move on very shortly.
Okay, so one other kind of weird gaffe from this week, there was a guy called Mike Hale, and he's a critic from the New York Times, and he was reviewing the first 2 episodes of the TV show Goliath, and he said it had a weird sort of split personality, and then presumably the first episode leaves so much kind of unanswered, and then it jumps all the way back, and it gives the history of the case, and then when the second one ends, the story hasn't even caught up to where it started. And then the next day, they issued a correction saying the critic mistakenly watched the first 2 episodes in the wrong order.
That is so good.
Okay, we need to move on. It is time for fact number 2, and that is my fact. My fact this week is that this is the most famous snail in Britain right now. It is famous because its genitals are the wrong way round. This is Jeremy. This week, scientists in Nottingham have announced that they're searching for a partner for Jeremy to mate with, because Jeremy is a 1 in a million left-handed snail, and it can't mate with right-handed snails.
Well, one thing I noticed from this picture is they don't seem to have hands. By left-handed is it's the direction that the shell spirals, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so snails grow in either anti-clockwise or clockwise. So anti-clockwise means it's left-handed, and means it can't mate successfully with snails whose organs are grown in a clockwise direction, right?
Literally about to say all that. Nottingham University has put a calling out to all of the UK saying, if you can find a snail that is a lefty as well, please get in contact, because there is serious science behind it, and it's got huge implications. You were reading into the study, didn't you?
Yes, this is a similar thing that they have in humans. It's called situs inversus, and 1 in 10,000 humans have it, and it means all your organs are on the opposite side. And it means that if you have this, you should kind of wear a medical tag, because otherwise, if you kind of are unconscious and they try and find your heart and it's on the wrong side, it can be a real problem. There are some famous people with it. Enrique Iglesias has it. And normally it's okay, but actually there can be some other kind of associated problems with it. And so I think what they're doing is they're going to try and mate 2 lefty snails, because they might have the same genes as humans, and that might be able to give us some kind of idea of how to deal with this in humans.
And are they looking for a mate for Enrique Iglesias?
That's the lucky thing with humans, is our genitals are all right in the middle.
For yourself.
So, just very quickly, I just want to say that, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a celebrity in the audience tonight. Yeah.
Is it Enrique Iglesias?
Even better, Jeremy the Snail is with us tonight.
Look around.
He might be sat right next to you.
Don't put your feet down on the floor.
So Jeremy's brought his scientist with him tonight, and that is Angus Davison, who is here, who did the study, and Jeremy is sitting right here. This is one... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Look how he's handling him.
At the moment, he's going, put me down!
So, Angus, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing Jeremy. We're not actually allowed to touch Jeremy because he's technically, insurance-wise, priceless. This is up. But so, Jeremy is here. He's sitting... Oh, my God, his shell has just come off. Oh, no, that's two snails next to each other. Jesus Christ. I was like, there goes the series. Oh. So you've got... So that's a left-handed
So
snail.
Jeremy is on the right here, and Teresa is on the
So what are the chances, because you've had this calling out to have a mate be found for Jeremy for about a week now.
That's right, yeah.
Anyone sending stuff
Nothing so far, but...
Okay.
Oh, okay.
What should people do if they find a left-handed snail?
Well, send me a photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it true that...
Are you fussy? Is it like you've got to
Very, very, very slowly swiping left.
So I was looking into how we could get Jeremy laid, and because I don't know much about snail sex, but I was hungry to know more. And what I discovered is that they do this amazing thing. They'll court each other, and then suddenly the male snail will shoot a dart from its body. It's called a love dart. There's a picture of it here. And that just gets lobbed into the female, and that can impregnate.
It's hard to tell how big that is, isn't it?
That's
They
true.
do get quite big. I think they get over a centimetre, the love darts.
Wow.
I think that's right.
That is big
They
for
do,
a
don't they?
penis.
Proportionally, James, you can only dream. But what's quite nice about snail sex is that it happens...
Come on, guys, it's just locker room talk, it's fine.
What I personally like
Oh
about
my
it-
God, sorry. Angus has just put Jeremy in his pocket. Wait, no, you put Teresa in.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
What, you wouldn't treat Jeremy like that? It's special.
Sorry, go on.
Well, snail sex is special in that it's face-to-face. So this is some snails copulating, and yeah, they just shove their faces up against each other. I think where they copulate is just behind their eye stalks, and they both end up impregnated, which is also quite nice. So it's a very gender-equal society, partly because they're all hermaphrodites. So yeah, everyone goes away pregnant.
Yeah, it's it's just an interesting point to add about Jeremy and how important he is to these scientists in Nottingham who are studying him. If they don't find a mate for him very soon, they're going to put him into hibernation.
Like Austin Powers.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh no, so Jeremy's going to come back not understanding any of the cultural norms of the area.
He's going to be
so
like, why am I called Jeremy?
But I did think it was going to be really cool. Like, there's like cryogenic chamber that he goes into, and he's frozen like Austin Powers in that thing. They just pop them in a fridge. We need to move on very shortly. Do you guys have anything before we do?
Just very quickly, I would think every year there is a World Snail Racing Championship in Norfolk, in Congham, Norfolk, and training regime they put them through is putting them on a window at 45 degrees and making them go up it, and then tying a little bit of Lego to them for weight resistance. And there was a match report on this year's competition, and the defending champion, George, had died the day before the competition. And his owner, it was a man called Dale Thorne, and he said, he died yesterday. We left my mum and dad looking after George while we went on holiday. When we came back, he was dead. I don't blame mum and dad. Not really.
I need to move us on. Angus and Jeremy have a train to get back to Nottingham. So, ladies and gentlemen, Angus and Jeremy. Okay, so we're halfway through the show, and it's time to look at the stories that you've sent in to us via emails and social media. Starting with you, Andy.
This is from Lee Buswell, and the fact is that the German city of Ulm is desperate to stop men urinating on its church because their persistent peeing is eroding its sandstone base. Okay? And a city spokeswoman said the problem is likely to persist for as long as there are people.
James, what have you got?
Okay, this comes from Nicola Tanner on Twitter, and it's that Bristol Zoo's psychic raccoon has predicted the winner of the Great British Bake Off. This is Rocky the raccoon, and he's gone against what the bookies say, and he thinks Candice will win. But he has form because earlier this summer he correctly chose the winner of the European Football Championships.
No. And lastly, Anna, what have you got?
This was sent in by email. It's from Walt Mankowski, and it's from the New York Times. And it's about how Donald Trump has this record of filing lawsuits to kind of punish and silence his critics. And it's the fact that a committee of media lawyers at the American Bar Association has commissioned a report on Mr. Trump's litigation history. It's refused to publish the report, citing the risk of being sued by Donald Trump.
Okay, it's time to move on to our third fact of the show, and that is James Harkin.
Okay, my fact this week is that if you have $7,500 to spend and you want to attack a country, you can buy a cyber army of 100,000 fridges, or you could buy a single Tornado jet fighter for 10 minutes.
Oh, I do that.
I'm not sure how far you'd get in 10 minutes, though. That's the problem.
It'd have to be a nearby country, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Belgium!
So explain the fridges. What does that...
Okay, so what this is this week the internet went down for a lot of sites. Amazon, Spotify, Netflix, Twitter, they all went down at the same time, and they were taken down by an army of digital video recorders and CCTV cameras, and also kind of fridges and loads of things that are attached to the internet that you wouldn't think would be able to do this kind of thing. And what's happened is there was some malware, a virus on the internet, which got into all of these objects and sent a massive amount of traffic to a certain website, and it just took down all of the internet. And if you go online, you can buy a load of these bots for just $7,500.
So I'd never heard really of the way that DDoS attacks happen.
So DDoS, of course, stands for Distributed Denial of Service, and it's where you kind of fire a load of information into a website so that it takes it offline. It's kind of like when you're trying to get Glastonbury tickets and you can't get them because everyone's going on at the same time.
Yeah, the record was set earlier this year for the most questions, as it were, to take down a site, and it was a terabyte worth of information every second. To put that into context, imagine you were watching Question Time, 16 billion questions being asked every second.
It's hard to imagine David Dimbleby trying to shush 16 billion people. No, the red hat, just the red hat.
Yeah, I went to the site where you can, where they tell you about buying the bots, and so you can get 50,000 bots for $4,600. So I thought, okay, that's...
What have you done? Just decided to take down the Mock the Week website. So Hewlett-Packard did a survey about this problem, and it's all due to this thing, the Internet of Things, where lots and lots of devices now connect to the Internet, but the security on them is really ropey. So there are smart cat flaps, which, you know, text you when your cat uses the cat flap, or the smart toothbrushes, all sorts of stuff. But the passwords are all built in automatically, and they're really easy to get into. So you can then get this army of fridges and toothbrushes and cat flaps, and your fridge can attack your phone. And so Hewlett-Packard found that 60% of these Internet of Things devices are vulnerable in some way.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys that recently at a big Las Vegas sort of conference on hacking, they showed that you could use someone's thermostat so they could lock onto 99 degrees in the house, and the only way you can unlock it is to pay them $300 in Bitcoin. And so you can be held ransom by your thermostat.
Well, you could go out, though, couldn't you?
You could...
Do you want to see a toaster with a Twitter account?
Sure.
Sort of, OK. Well, you're about to. So here it is. This is an early Internet of Things. It's at My Toaster. This is set up by a technology guy called Hans Scharler. When it's on, it tweets toasting. And when it stops, it writes done toasting. And this is an early example of household objects with internet connectivity. But at the moment, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to train his toaster to work out when he will want toast. So rather than just put the toast in the toaster, like the rest of us, he says it's easy to trigger a toaster to toast, but the real question, the challenging AI problem, is when to make me toast. So I've built this whole thing which figures out where I am, when's the right time to make me toast, and then tell me.
I kind of wonder if Mark Zuckerberg's career is going as well as it used to be.
We need to move on very shortly. Do you guys have anything before we do?
Oh, there is another cool artificial intelligence thing, which is the Donald Trump website, which is run by artificial intelligence. So it's a chatbot which is learning from Donald Trump how to get along with people. So it's called Deep Trump, and it writes these incredible sentences, which actually don't sound very far from genuine Trumpism. Here's one. I want to thank the volunteers. They've been unbelievable. They work, like, endlessly. You know, they don't want to die. Another one is, my plan for the GDP is number 1, believe me, but ISIS wants to kill us over our trade deals.
It's got the idea.
It's got the hand of it.
Can I tell you guys my favourite Donald Trump internet find of the week?
Go on.
So Donald Trump has been suggesting that he might not accept the presidential election vote when it finally comes out if he loses. And a lot of people have been suggesting that he's got in the background that if he does lose, he's going to launch Trump TV. It's this big new channel that he's going to launch. And so obviously everyone has been trying to sniff around and see if there's any truth to Trump TV. So everyone heads to trump.tv because that's the obvious domain name that you buy. But if you go to trump.tv, you get met by this. Vote no to Trump. He wasn't even organised enough to purchase this domain at public auction, and he wants to run the USA? Isn't that wonderful?
That's so good.
Oh, my God.
Very good.
OK, we're going to move on now to our final fact of the show, and that is Andrew Hunter Murray.
My fact is that 3/4 of the people in this room are criminals.
We gotcha.
Yeah.
We've got the place surrounded.
So this is a new poll by YouGov, which has looked into sort of small crimes that are committed quite often, and it's found that 74% of people have done at least one of these things. So, for example, paying someone cash in hand, even though you think they probably won't pay tax on it. Illegally streaming TV shows is another one, so about 1/3 of people have done that. Telling people your food order is to take away and then eating it in to save money.
Guilty!
1 in
Don't
5.
you live in constant fear that the waiter's going to come over and say, you ordered a takeaway, sir, please get out of this place?
I feel like James Bond every time.
19% of people have taken a plastic bag at the supermarket without paying for it. 12% have eaten loose fruit / pick and mix at a shop without paying for it.
It could be that 74% of people are criminals, or it could also be that 26% of people are liars.
Yes, that's true.
What are the consequences of...
Acknowledging what you've just openly admitted on national television. Severe.
But what if you're caught doing them all, and they read that out in court? Does it accumulate somehow to being a bigger crime?
That would happen if you did lots of little crimes. They would, yeah, they'd get you. One of the things is that putting stuff through a self-service scanner as something else.
So you scan something cheap and
Yeah,
then put
exactly.
in the vodka or whatever.
Exactly. And in 2013, there was a city worker who was sentenced to 180 hours community service for taking groceries and scanning them all as loose onions.
It's weird. He seems to buy lots, but his breath smells fine. It's something weird.
Well, he did it for ages and ages, and he finally got caught when he went to one shop where he put everything through as loose onions, and they didn't sell loose onions.
Did Did you see the person recently who got caught shoplifting by someone on Google Street View?
No!
So this was earlier this month, and so there was an IT worker called Peter Darby who was browsing Google Street View, and we've got a picture. So this is a picture of what he saw when he was browsing, and then he wandered down the street on Street View as you do, and then as he wandered he saw this next picture, and then this next picture as he took a step forward. And then he saw her running further and further away, and she didn't get caught, which implies it was a bit of a half-hearted attempt by that guy. And he called the police, and he reported this. He said, "I've just seen this on Google Street View," and she was caught and prosecuted for stealing £60 worth of...
onions.
Loose onions.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was based on a YouGov survey, wasn't it? And I was looking at YouGov of recent surveys that have been done, and a few of them that I really liked. One is that most people think that none of 2016's Turner Prize entries are actually art, and that the most Brexity of all the supermarkets is Iceland.
It's a very particular branch of Iceland, isn't it?
Yes, it is,
I think
yeah.
they realise that of all the supermarkets, if you vote Brexit, you're more likely to go to Iceland. And they also put that against where people mostly vote for Brexit, and they found a particular one in Boston, in Lincolnshire. That's it. That is the most Brexity supermarket in Britain. I got one more kind of survey about what British people do.
Oh, yeah?
This was a survey by Enterprise Rent-A-Car this week that said 15% of people admitted they'd eaten a meal behind the wheel of a car.
Moving car.
A moving car, yeah. And 4% of people said they got amorous while cruising along in their car. But in France, 46% of drivers said they ate behind the wheel of a car, and 5 times more Spanish people than British people were getting amorous.
Moving car.
Moving car. Did the car move for you? Yeah.
We need to wrap up very shortly. Do you guys have anything before we do?
If you do want to keep to the law, a recycling company did do a survey of things you can use instead of buying a plastic bag at the supermarket, and it interviewed people, and they gave their suggestions of what you could use instead. So here are a few of them. Number 1, a pair of trousers tied up at the ankles. They were in the back of the car, they saved me at least 20p on bags, and hardly anybody laughed at me. Number 2, dog poo bag. I've always got a few in my pocket, and they hold more than you expect. Number 3, your children's arms. I've got 4, and they've got 2 good arms each. They're not keen on the frozen stuff.
Okay, that's it. That's all of our facts. Just time for us to share with you some of the stories that we didn't have time to get to during our show, and we're going to start with you, James.
OK, mine is that after 7 months of travel, the European Space Agency's Mars lander crashed into the surface of Mars at over 300 kilometres per hour, exploding on impact. The ESA have declared the mission a success.
Wow. OK, Anna?
This is from The Independent, and this is that this week, during a debate in Kyrgyzstan's parliament over planned changes to the country's constitution, it emerged that nobody in the country knows where its constitution is.
And finally, Andy.
OK, this is from the Palm Beach Post, and it's that a drunken Wisconsin woman has been freed on bail after using peanut butter to smear 30 cars with obscene graffiti and phallic symbols at a conservation group meeting she mistook for a Donald Trump rally.
From me, Andy, James, and Anna. We'll be back again next week. We've been No Such Thing as the News. Goodbye.
And if you're a left-handed mollusk looking for love, please contact Dan Schreiber by snail mail. Good night.
Bye-bye.